Okay, there doesn't seem to be anybody here. I don't think so. Nope, there's nobody here. So I'm just going to hang out and wait for people to show up. I had to change the link, and I hope everybody got up to date on that. Oh, there is somebody here. Abby Jean! How are you doing? Dead silence. Oh, somebody else is here. I'm excited. Okay. I actually have extensive notes. I'm pretty good. I figured out how to use my camera as a webcam so that hopefully it's a little clearer uh, than it was last time. I mean, last time I think it was fine, but I think it's a little bit better now. Um, but it's distracting because the monitor is over here and the camera is over here. And I keep getting distracted by, "Ooh, hi, pretty lady, hi, pretty lady." So, oh, Violet, I've been loving your stuff lately. I'm so happy to see you here. And I have a question for you about how your name is pronounced because I'm going to do the newbie tag when I get around to actually producing content, aside from live streams. And I'd like to know how to pronounce Violet. Is it Kate? Like latte? Kate? Anyway, or I could just call you Violet if you're okay with that. Megan, hello. We've got 3 people. This is very exciting. Very exciting indeed. By the way, this is unlisted. So if people don't have the direct link, then they aren't going to be here. And I only put it in the Discord, and I also gave it to my sister, but I don't think she's going to be here tonight. She has been a little under the weather. But after the live stream is over, I will make it public unless people have like some massive objection to it. So we've got now we have a 4th person. I don't know if that's somebody who's actually going to be chit-chatting with us or if they're just watching. That's fine. Like I said in my posts, all levels of participation are welcome. Oh, thank you. It's the same one I had last time. I do have other tiaras, which will be, a good reason to come back. Did she change the tiara or is it still the same one? Cat. Oh, okay. Violet cat. Love it. Uh, so I'm not going to make everybody sit around for 15 minutes while I just talk about nonsense before we get started like I did last time. Uh, although I could. I mean, I have strong opinions about things. Uh, what I did instead was I have the notes because I still don't know how to share my screen. I tried downloading some streaming software and it turned out to cause more problems than it solved. So I decided to concentrate my efforts toward using a better quality camera and to just let the whole streaming software thing just let it go. Just letting it go for now. I may revisit it in the future, but not now. So what I figured we could do is we could go through the prompts, the holiday. I need to just center myself for a second here. The holiday list challenge prompts, and I'd talk about what I'm doing and see what you guys are doing, and hopefully we all come away with some recommendations and whatnot. How does that sound to people? Or is there something else you want to do? I did. Okay, Deborah Simmons. Okay, Violet is saying that she actually watched the playback, I guess, of the Romance Grab Bag, and she's saying that she has a couple of Deborah Simmons books. She wrote medievals as well as Regencies. Great. I love medievals. Oh, and I do have a couple of updates for people. Remember the nutty book with the sex worker and the guy who was pretending to be the new preacher died in her bed, so she got somebody else to pretend to be the new preacher? Well, I happened to see some other books by that same writer on the shelf while I was skipping through the stacks the other day at my local library, and she was writing a lot of they had what they had on the shelf was a lot of, contemporary romantic suspense. So, that's a thing that happened. So, okay, and Abby Jean's giving me the go ahead. And, if Abby Jean says I should do a thing, I just figure I figure that, you know, she has good ideas. So, I do need my glasses, which I put somewhere. I put my glasses somewhere. I don't know where. That's the thing about advancing years is that you need reading glasses, but you also can't remember where you put them. Ah, they're in my lap. At least they weren't, up on my head with the tiara. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. What I figured we could do is go down the list of prompts and alternate between nice and naughty. So, okay, let's do the thing. The first prompt is a cozy fireside read, a book that feels like a warm. And for that, I have selected Jingle Bell Mingle. Oh, Abby Jean says she's 5 for 5. And Violet is saying it's interesting about Sharon Sala skipping from historical to romantic suspense. She says a lot of historical authors jump to romantic suspense later. I'm curious why they landed in that subgenre. That is interesting because that was Catherine Coulter. I mean, I guess she got tired of Victorian cousins marrying cousins. And I don't know. I've never read any of her romantic suspense, so I don't know if there was some cousin loving going on there or if it was just as bonkers as her historicals, but one can only hope. I think, and also some category writers jumped into romantic suspense. Iris Johansson. Oh, Abby Jean is 5 for nice and 5 for naughty. Got it. Iris Johansson, who started with Love Swept, she wrote some historicals and then she jumped over into like the Eve Duncan series. And Kay Hooper, who started with, I don't know if she started with Candlelight Ecstasy Romance, but she certainly was publishing with them very early in her career and theirs. And then now she's doing like the whole Noah Bishop sort of paranormal investigation series. So, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe romantic suspense or just suspense procedurals. Nora Roberts is another one. I think they maybe get a little more respect and maybe people decide they want to experiment with more complicated plots. And, you get to the point where you want to stretch yourself, I think. Maybe that's it. Maybe, I mean, I'm just making this up. I have no idea. Megan says, okay, she checked this first one, the Cozy Fireside Read, book that feels like a warm hug, for the Wallflower Christmas. She realizes she's only finished 2 books this month, so she's used the same book for more than one prompt. Does that count as naughty? If it makes you feel a little thrill to be considered naughty, I would say go ahead and count it as naughty, but don't. I mean, I wouldn't make yourself feel guilty about it. Okay, and Abby Jean says she DNF'd Merry Little Meet Cute last year, but she thinks she just wasn't in the right mood. I do love Sierra Simone, so I want to give it another shot. Okay, well, I actually enjoyed Merry Little Meet Cute, and what was the other one? Holly Jolly Ever After. I enjoyed those. I like the small town. I like the found family of the the erotic movie production team, performers and production team. I like all of that. So I have not yet read this one, but I'm anticipating that it will be a warm hug. So I am not actually, I don't consider that I've achieved that one yet. Okay, so Megan did this for the Wallflower Christmas. Does anybody else have any ones that they've either done or they're planning to do? Okay, Violet says cozy fireside read for her is definitely The Autumn Bride by Anna Gracie. I almost read that as Gracia. Absolutely precious with lots of found family vibes. Those are I do enjoy found family. Found family. That's a nice warm hug. Um, so yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. We lost somebody. They ran away. Maybe they'll come back, or maybe they won't. Maybe they had a delivery. Can't take it on myself that they left. Abby Jean rather, says, I haven't finished a book for that prompt yet, but I'm halfway through Mind in Magic that would be great for it. Not sure if I'm having trouble seeing this. Not sure if I'll finish it in time because it's my sleep book. Well, this time of year there's so much running around that it might not take people very long to fall asleep. So the sleep book may take a while to get through. Okay, so let's look at the first prompt on the naughty list, and if people are still formulating their thoughts, just we'll catch up. So the first prompt on the naughty list is Coal in the Stocking, a book featuring a villain you secretly love. Now, I kind of struggled with this because if they're truly a villain, then maybe I wouldn't secretly love them. But if they're just misunderstood, are they really a villain? Am I overthinking this? I'm overthinking this, aren't I? Anyway, so for that one, again, this is a book I haven't read yet, but I have read the first book in the series, I guess, and that is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maurer. Maurer. Anyway, I read Assistant to the Villain just over a year ago in November of last year. I had to go back and look it up, but that was when I read it. So I'm looking forward to reading the second one. By the way, almost all of these are library books. So Abby Jean says, I agree. Like, does an anti-hero count? I don't know. I was also thinking of, and she says, ooh, that sounds perfect for this prompt. I don't have one for this prompt yet. Not sure if I will. Yeah, I think that one's a little tricky. I also thought of maybe like the who's the Never After series by Emily McIntyre, where it turns out like pretty much everybody's the jerk, to paraphrase Reddit. Megan says, ooh, I recently found out about Assistant to the Villain and was intrigued. Was it good? I remember having a good time with it. Yeah, I mean, I'm set to read the sequel. So, I mean, it wasn't like I saw the sequel on the shelf at the library and went, I guess I better read it. So, yeah, I mean, I had a good time with it. I know some people didn't like it. And, that's the whole your mileage may vary kind of deal. You know, okay. Anybody else? Once again, if you're still formulating your thoughts, just, it'll pop up in chat and we'll go back. You just do kind of a little cha-cha-cha, go forward, go back, go forward, go back. It's fine. It's lovely. Okay. Number 2 on the nice list is kind words. Write a glowing review for a favorite book or author. Now, I haven't been doing that. I kind of have a bit of a mental block. Oh, Violet says, I read it last month, but I guess the main characters of Butcher and Blackbird could count for this. Yes, I think they would. If you love them. If you were like, oh man, I don't know. I did this last month. Oh, you left a review last month, or are we still? Anyway, I always feel a little awkward leaving reviews or whatever because I'm like, who cares what I think? I'm just some, middle-aged lady in Connecticut. Review, okay. However, oh, I wrote, Abby Jean says I wrote 2 right before the show started so I could check it off. Sometimes just like when I'm working around the house and I have like a list of things I want to do, I'll do something and then write it down and then check it off. Just, anyway. Anyway, so I just like kind of like, I know writers love getting reviews, especially if they're positive, but even if they're just kind of like mixed or whatever, However, oh, and Megan says, LOL, that's what I always think. Who cares what I think? And I know it's important for authors, so I'm trying to be better. And Violet says, "Oh no, not for me." Speaking of Butcher and Blackbird, I did not love Butcher and Blackbird, but perhaps others would. I think I saw that in your November reading wrap up, but I watched that a while ago, so I don't remember every little thing. I enjoyed it personally, but I can see how it is just not for everyone. Abby Jean says, I struggle with writing reviews too. I often delete them after the fact, especially if they are negative in nature. Yeah, I mean, I noticed that when I get mad at a book, it's usually because I expected something that I didn't get. And Debbie Jean worries about hurting people's feelings. Yeah, especially if you don't really have anything constructive to say. It's like, yeah, we used to say in graduate school that there was no point in getting mad at a writer for writing a different book than the one you actually wanted to read. So it's kind of awkward. And Megan says, I don't write negative ones reviews, but I never know what to write when I think the book was fine. It's fine. It's fine. It killed an afternoon. Everybody was happy. I would read, I actually found it rather liberating from the discussion in on the Discord about not rating books. And I was like, oh, I only rate books on Goodreads because when I go to post that I finished a book, the screen pops up saying, "Would you rate it?" And I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't need to do that anymore. Like you don't even get that prompt on Storygraph. And I found it so liberating. It's like I don't have to worry about it. I can just let art flow over me. However, what I've been trying to do is leave positive comments on people's YouTube videos. I was trying to do more of that even before I started doing my own YouTube stuff. Just because I do enjoy people's creation and their work and the effort they're doing for it. And it's really, for most YouTubers, it's a labor of love. Um, Abby Jean says, I am not rating curious, but still not sure. Hmm. Well, we all go through a phase in life, usually when we're undergraduates, but it can happen anytime where we're curious about maybe not having to judge every single thing we read or see or do. And some people find that that lifestyle agrees with them. But anyway, I'm going to stop that now. Just, we're going to back away from that analogy. And Megan's saying, for the blog that I want to start, I'm going to have to look into how to rate books and figure out an article about that. There are a lot of different ways to rate them, I would say. I mean, the star system is sort of classic, but you could rate them like, would I reread from this author? So you could say maybe this book was a 2-star, but I'm interested in more that this writer has to say. Or was, you could get creative with that, not just doing stars, unless, maybe stars are already stressful enough without trying to come up with something different. So, yeah, I think that, like I said, I found not worrying about what I was going to rate something, that I found it to be very, liberating and freeing. And I was like, oh, I don't have to judge. I don't have to assess. So I'm kind of concentrating on, like I said, leaving comments, positive comments on people's videos on YouTube or Instagram or pictures on Instagram. And I'm kind of, I guess I'm going to go ahead and give myself a point for that. Half a point. I don't know. I don't leave in-depth comments, just like, I liked this and I'd like to see more of it for whatever it was. Oh, great. Things they don't tell you about having long hair and using pens. This is fascinating content that you come here for. Yeah. Yeah. Just imagine when I start creating my own videos that aren't just live streams. It's really, really going to knock it out of the park. Okay. And then, okay, Abby Jean says, I think that counts. Even an emoji helps. It's engagement. That's what Tara does on her Vlogmas videos. She's just like, if you watched all the way to the end, she has like a prompt for a comment you could leave, or she says, or just leave me a such and such emoji, and so I know you were here. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna look at the naughty list, and of course, again, just, if you have more to say, go ahead and say it, and we'll go back and forth. Uh, the naughty list. Okay, this is read past your bedtime. Stay up too late to finish a book. I actually have a button which shows this little kid who looks very polite and respectful, and he's thinking, "I read past my bedtime." However, I can't do that because I have a long history of disordered sleep. And so I try not to do anything too late. So I I'm just staying away from this one because it's not worth the risk for me. So, oh, Violet says, I've decided to leave reviews, but just not star ratings. Then I can be honest and not negatively affect the number average. Yeah, I think that the star rating can be kind of constraint. There's not a lot of room for nuance there. It's just kind of like, oh, okay. And also, you don't always know. So one person's 3 stars could be, I had a good time and I would read from this author again. And another person's 3 stars is, ah, such a bad experience. No, no, no. I don't know. And Abby says she has not gotten that one yet either. So she has not read past her bedtime. I don't know. Maybe the reason I had literally decades of disordered sleep was from too much reading past my bedtime when I was younger. I don't know. Or maybe I read past my bedtime because I couldn't sleep. Chicken, egg, whatever. Megan says, I used to be able to read late, but now sleep is way too important to me. Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. Like I said, I think I finally found a routine and a medication regime that works for me, and I don't want to risk screwing it up. And Abby Jean says, I feel you. Sleep is such a struggle. It really is. It can be. Really. And I always feel like such a failure when I can't sleep. I'm like, this is like a basic human function, and I can't seem to do it. What? Oh, well, anyway, I think that probably talking about sleeplessness for all night would maybe be counterproductive. Okay. So moving on, unless somebody else had something to contribute. Okay. The third prompt is Sugar and Spice, a sweet romance or feel good book. Okay. So that for me was one I just read this morning. Well, I finished it this morning. And that was Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. Guillory? I think it's Guillory. And it has such a cool cover. This her dress is very sparkly and it's got texture to it, and it's the same color and sparkles as the author's name, and then the dress, the hat, and the shoes all have the sparkles as well. So this was just a nice kind of low stakes romance. It was about older people, like around my age in their early 50s, and she's an American social worker whose daughter is called in as kind of an emergency sub for a person who is definitely not the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, when she was still kind of in the royal family, as it were. Uh, her daughter is called in to be the Duchess's kind of emergency stylist. And while she's at Sandringham for Christmas, she meets this gentleman who is the Queen's personal private secretary. And they just have a nice romance, and they're, like I said, I enjoyed reading about older characters, and it was fun. And so that's what I am crossing off for Sugar and Spice. Anybody else have anything? Abby Jean says she doesn't have one for that yet, but I'm hoping to read Ashley Herring's new release, Make the Season Bright, and maybe that will fit. When did that come out? Did I read that one? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Or did I? It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma. I don't know. I've read her other work. Was she the one who wrote Delilah Green Doesn't Care and those, or am I thinking of somebody else entirely? Or is she the one who wrote no, Love in the Stars was Alexander Belfleur. It's in Pacific Northwest, queer relationships. Um, yeah. And don't know if I read that one or not, but based on her other work, if she's the same, if I'm thinking of the right person, if I'm thinking of the right person, then yeah, that would be that would be a good nice sugar and spice with prompt fulfillment. Yeah, Delilah Abby Jean says yes, Delilah Green just came out October 1st. It's sapphic. Don't think I read that. Oh my goodness. Just going to step aside for a moment. I'm not actually literally stepping aside. I'm stepping outside the current discussion just to say, Norton, why are you doing updates when I'm in the middle of a live stream? Why are you nagging me? Why is your customer service model nag them to death? Norton, 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 Norton. Just having a ugh, Norton. Always when I'm trying to do something, they're like, "Here, you should download this, pay for that." I don't know. Abby Jean is laughing and saying, "Does that prompt mean sweet like clean or?" Well, it is sugar and spice. It could be sweet romance as opposed to like some mafia stuff or uh, I don't know, in bed with a demon or something like that. This book actually, it's closed door. They do discuss condoms at one point, but it's closed door. Abby Jean says, "Oh, good thinking." I I'm glad I'm thinking well. I don't know what of. Um, so that's sugar and spice, and the uh the naughty equivalence is spicy reads for chilly nights, a steamy or scandalous book. And I do not have this book because I returned it to the library so that somebody else could enjoy a steamy or scandalous book uh, on a chilly night. And that was Madame by Sarah Kate, which is the most recent Salacious Players Club novel. And so far, it's the one that I actually liked the most. I keep coming back to them, and uh, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times the characters in that are kind of not particularly well realized, but I did feel like in this particular book, I just felt like she had done a good job of writing about characters who had issues that were interesting. And yes, they use sex and kink to work through those issues. Well, not exactly to work through them, but to express their personalities and so on. But I just felt like there was more to it than some of the other books in that series. So that's my steamy read. Although, if anybody else has something they want to talk about. Oh, Abby Jean says, also don't have one for that yet. All mine are at the bottom, apparently, lol. But I have Talia Hibbert's Mary Inkmas on the TBR, and I'm thinking that will work. And Megan says, I have nothing for this prompt. Dang, I was hoping to get some recommendations. But Mary Inkmas. Talia Hibbert, I have read the what author did I say again? It was Sarah Kate. Sara Kate. Cate. So Salacious Players Club is the series, and this is the sixth book. The idea is that it's a kink club that, inexplicably makes a lot of money. And okay, and Abby Jean says, "Oh, right, I've read her." Okay, so like I said, I feel like this is the book that had kind of so far in the series the most to recommend it for me in terms of like balancing kink and character development. So anyway, that's where I am with that one. So I've done that. Okay. And I'm going to skip on over to the nice list. Number 4 is seasonal self care. Spend an evening with a hot beverage and a cozy book. Oh, and Violet says, oh, and literally all Nicola Davidson books are quite sexy. Is that HR, historical romance? Nicola Davidson. I mean, a lot of historical romance. It's pretty. And Abby Jean says, yeah, I love Nicola Davidson. I'm not sure that I'm familiar I kind of took a long hiatus from historical romance, and I'm just getting back into it. So I'm not necessarily familiar with um, the more recent authors. And you're like, Nicola Davidson has been, or yeah, you're going to be like, Nicola Davidson's been publishing since 1996. Yeah, yeah. I'm not cool. I'm not up to date. On the plus side, I have a tiara. Oh, wow. Abby Jean says she has MF, MMF, FF, Femdom, all kinds of fun stuff. Wow. So is she historical or contemporary, or at what point does it stop mattering? Nicola Davidson. Underlined twice. Yes, historical. Okay. Okay. So that was, oh, yeah. I was about to start talking about seasonal self care. Um, Spend an evening with a hot beverage and a cozy book. Done, done, and done. One thing I like to do is get my hot water bottle filled with hot water. We had to have our hot water heater replaced the other day, so it's nice to have that. Um, Abby Jean's castigating herself for misspelling historical. I didn't even notice. Yeah, I know, I know, I know what you meant. Um, anyway, we just had our hot water replaced, and so I my hot water bottle, I'm actually using it right now. And I've been putting on fireplace videos on YouTube and just having that. It's at the TV's at the foot of my bed. The fireplace is on. My feet are on the hot water bottle, so it feels like I'm actually getting some warmth from it. And it's just very cozy, good time. I like it. Would recommend. Ugh. Of course, I have various candles that are meant to smell like burning wood in one capacity or another, and that helps with the ambiance. And Abby Jean says, "Yep, did that one too. I've been really into tea and candles in the process of quitting coffee, actually. Once gave up caffeine accidentally for like 10 years. No, not that long, but for a while. Didn't mean to, just happened. Now I'm back on it." And oh, Abby Jean wants to know what people's, well, she's asking specifically Megan what her favorite tea is. I'm sure that if anybody else has a favorite tea to volunteer, she'd be interested to hear that. Oh, so yeah, so that's what I've been doing for that kind of cozy reading experience. And Megan says she likes mint teas, so yeah, mint teas are good. And Megan says last night I had some hot chocolate. Ooh, okay, thanks, says Abby Jean. In this book, when the lady meets the dude for the first time, she's like, "Who is that tall drink of hot chocolate over there?" And then later she hears his voice and thinks it sounds like somebody added whiskey to hot chocolate. So anyway, so I knew which candle to set fire to for while I read that book. It was a hot chocolate scented candle. Okay, so that's seasonal self care. So I hope everybody's doing whatever seasonal self care is good for them, whether it's the hot beverage cozy book or whatever it is, because I know this time can be stressful, especially if we're missing loved ones who have gone on before us, and or we can't be with the people we'd like to be with. That can be rough. And even if we are with the people we want to be with, it can be a lot of running around and a lot of stress. So, yeah. Abby Jean says, "Oh, okay, thanks," in reference to Megan's tea and hot chocolate recommendations, I would assume. Um, And the opposite for seasonal self care when it comes to the naughty list is procrastination nation, which is skip chores or responsibilities for reading. I mean, that's pretty much my life story. Um, Also, I was worried earlier that I would accidentally knock over this kind of camera phone arrangement that I've got going on, and I would knock it over, it would be on the floor, and you guys would be like, "Oh, I see what chore she's procrastinating. She's not cleaning her floor." Hmm. But then I actually did clean the floor, so whatever. And Abby Jean says she did that one today. So, yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's kind of a lifestyle choice for me. Although the other day I ran around town, I went over to Danbury, which is where I scored all of those free step backs. That was pretty cool. And I actually went over the state line into New York where I had lunch. And it was nice. My idea of self care, I think that day was having a solid lunch of a Reuben, fries, coleslaw. I even ate the pickle. Okay. So now, under the mistletoe, this is back on the nice list. Oh, Megan says, "Oh, I just realized I did that prompt on Friday. I took the day off and read." Okay, nice, nice. That is commitment. I admire that. I really do. Okay, moving on to under the mistletoe, a story with an unforgettable kiss or love scene. Okay, this was what I read yesterday, which was Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. There's some music is made in more ways than one. It's I think that'll sit with me for a while, especially if I ever hear cello music again, which I probably will. Abby Jean says I need to read that next year. I wasn't sure how much I would like it, but I was into it. I mean, I read her first book, which kind of for me it had the added bonus of it took place in Sacramento, which is where my sister lives, and I lived there for a number of years. My mom grew up there, so that was some local interest. Not Another Love Song takes place in New York, and I did live in New York for a couple of semesters while I was going to NYU, but that was quite some time ago. So, um, okay, and then the naughty list is Underhanded Schemes, a book full of betrayal or deceit. Yes. I'm going to go with one that was one of my was from the romance grab bag book haul. Oh, Abby Jean says OMG for that one I have On the Same Page by Haley Cass. Such a great first kiss. Ooh, it's a first kiss. I don't know. All my first kisses in real life have been kind of awkward, but that's why it's fiction. If it were true to life, we'd call it something else and we probably wouldn't read it. That's okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Does anybody else have one for a story with an unforgettable kiss or love scene? On the Same Page by Haley Cass. It's another one I should look up. Megan says, for that one, I put the Wallflower Christmas again. That was a lovely library scene. Ooh, a library scene. That's on the same page. I'm just writing this down. Okay. Nice, nice. I thought of you, Megan, while I was in Danbury and scoring all of those free paperbacks because they had a lot of cozy mysteries, and I know that's your thing. And one of them was the Wedding Soup Murders or Murderer or something having to do with murder and wedding soup. And since you like cozies and you're getting married, I was just like, I wonder if Megan has read this. Megan says, thanks. Yeah. I would have grabbed a bunch for you, except that I have no idea what you've read, what you haven't read, what you like, what you don't like, or, importing cozy mysteries to Canada. I don't know. And Abby Jean wants to know, Megan, are there cozy mysteries that aren't centered on murder? This is making me think of the Nancy Drew books, which may or may not have been cozy, but they never centered on murder, at least not the Carolyn Keene ones that were published. You know, there were never any murders, at least in those earlier ones. There's always somebody was being stolen from or blackmailed, but very little in the way of violence. Maybe somebody would wave a gun around in a threatening manner, but that was about it. And Megan says, LOL. Okay. Uh, Violet says, for Deceit, Tightrope by Amanda Quick is great. There are a lot of villains who backstab each other while going after the leads. Yeah, they're villains. They're not going to be super, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They're not collaborative necessarily. It always falls apart. And Megan says, not really, but the cozy mysteries don't have any graphic details. That's part of what makes them cozy, isn't it? Is it like, oh, it's murder, but it's fun murder, and the victim is always somebody who is, a crooked real estate developer or whatever. So, you know. Okay, mine for that one, I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to take a suggestion from the live stream last week, which is this book. Oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, Deceptive Desires. Ooh, somebody suggested that this might be a good one for the for this prompt. And I had my prompts confused, and I was confusing that with the one about villains, and I was like, well, don't I have to like the guy? He seems like a jerk. And then I was like, no, it's about deceit. Fine. Let's take a moment to really, really appreciate this cover. Will I see you tonight on a downtown train? Oh yeah, downtown. And Megan says further to Cozy Mysteries, there are lots of different jobs that the sleuth will have, so you can pick bakeries, libraries, or the one I'm reading, Christmas. And she adds it's more about the different atmospheres. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I'm going to read this one for a book that, what is the phrasing exactly? Centers on deceit, underhanded schemes, a book full of betrayal or deceit. And so this is Deceptive Desires, and there's all kinds of, yeah. This is the one, Beware Logan James. And once more, I ask you, isn't that Wolverine's real name? Oh, Megan's saying further on the Cozy Mysteries that there's something for everyone, just like romance tropes. Yeah. And Abby Jean says, I put Miracle on Lady's Mile for deceit. The hero purposely hides his identity, and it's a big conflict. That was one of our book club options that didn't get picked. Yeah. Well, this one I believe is a Western. Wild Land, Wild Love. It's got challenging font for reading purposes, but it's not very long. This one's it's not even 300 pages. Okay, so that's my pick for Underhanded Schemes. Again, haven't read it yet. Okay, moving back over to the nice list. Oh, once again, this is the pause that refreshes. It's a Cherry Coke Zero. Chapter of Love, support an independent bookstore with a purchase. Just a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, the first romance only bookstore in Connecticut opened, and it's so far the only one. And it's only a couple of towns south of me. And I went to the opening, but I didn't buy anything. There was a huge long line and everything. Abby Jean has something to say. She says, thanks, Megan. I'll have to ask you for some recs later. I read one about a bakery and Shakespeare, I think. Can't remember the title, but only gave it 3 stars. Well, they're not always going to be winners. It's true. Of course, for me, a 3-star is like, I had a good enough time and I'll probably read more by this author. But, I'm very picky about what gets 4 and 5 stars. Although, since I'm not doing that anymore, I'm not worried about it. Megan says, sure, Abby, although I'm still very new. Yeah. We get Terry to set up a little subsection for you guys, the Cozy Mysteries. So yeah, I was talking about Montgomery and Taggart, which is the first romance centered bookstore in Connecticut, and so far the only one. And I went there opening day, but it was really crowded, so I didn't buy anything. And yeah, I'm going to go back probably tomorrow or Wednesday. So they're in Chester, Connecticut. If you live in the area and want to check them out. Chester is a lovely town, by the way, just in general. So that's my supporting an independent bookstore with a purchase. I think they have candles too, so maybe I can do my book candle pairing that I do over on Instagram. Maybe I can do that one-stop shopping. Oh, by the way, I am on Instagram as Bargain Counter Argument. I pair books with candles and take pictures of the results. So, it's a good time if you're into that kind of thing. So that was the chapter of love, support the independent bookstore. That was the nice list, and its counterpart on the naughty list is impulse buyer. Pick a book just because the cover, or buy a book just because the cover is gorgeous. Okay, well, I didn't buy a book just because the cover was gorgeous. Although when they handed me step backs, I was just like, yes, I will take those because the covers are gorgeous. And Abby Jean says she hasn't done either of these. Um, However, when I was at the Danbury Public Library on Saturday, I did pick up this book. And I was just like, I had no idea what it was or who it was by or anything. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like, you're coming home with me. I mean, look at her. Just look at that. It's Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. And it's, ooh, shiny. Yeah. It's very shiny. It's zero point 0.5 of the Summoner's Circle series, which I haven't read any of those. I don't know how many of them have been published, but I haven't read them yet. It's Abby says, "Ooh, yes, S.T. Gibson is great. I just read Evocation in October. I read Dowry Blood and liked it, and I also read gosh, what's it called? Not Absence of Malice. Something about malice." Megan says, "I haven't bought a book for." Oh, ooh, comments are coming in. Megan says, "I haven't bought a book for the cover this month, but have definitely been tempted." Yeah. Violet says, "I did buy a book recently because the step back was basically Tarzan, Wild Rain by Christine Feehan. She is the only paranormal author I know who has step backs." Yeah, I have some of those. I haven't read them yet, but I do have them. And it's just like, yes. And Abby Jean says, "I read Dowry of Blood and Education in Malice." Thank you. That was the one I was trying to think of as well. Enjoyed them both. I didn't really remember Education in Malice, but I know I read it. So, of course, I think I read it over a year ago. I don't know. Maybe not. Just I remember having a good time with it. I just don't really remember that much about it. I read the summary on Goodreads and I was like, yeah, this sounds vaguely familiar. Anyway, this is zero point 0.5 of Summoner's Circle. And in addition to having this really, really shiny cover, it's also got illustrations inside. You see, it's about a couple who move into a house. And anyway, so that's what I picked it up from the library, and I probably would have picked it up even if it had been, I don't know, something I really, really hate. Something by Eric Segal, maybe. Uh, Violet says, excuse me, Abby Jean says, awesome, Violet. I think we're talking about the Christine Fien that gave Tarzan vibes. And Megan says, ooh, I love when there's artwork in the book. Yeah. And not only that, I mean, there are these end pages where you can see the couple, and there are these other they're these absolutely gorgeous I like this one. You can see the couple. It looks like they're in a rear view mirror a rear view mirror. uh they're not exactly monochromatic, but they're very atmospheric with the use of color. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. uh Megan says, it's the fantasy lover in me. Give me a map and I'm sold. Ooh, maps. Hang on. Going back, that couple becomes a throuple in book 2. Can't say as I disapprove of that. Going back to Jingle Bell Mingle, there actually is a little map of this town, Christmas Notch, Vermont. I think it's in Vermont. Yeah, Vermont. Just thought of that because we were talking about maps. A throuple. Megan says, cute. I think she meant the map, not the couple that becomes a throuple, although that could be absolutely adorable in the right hands. Okay. couple that becomes a throuple, although that could be uh, absolutely adorable in the right hands. Um, okay. LOL the map. Yes. Although there are some pretty spicy pairings, at least in the first two books. So Abby Jean is just thinks that's funny. Uh, okay, so 7 on the nice list is Holiday Magic, a book with a holiday house, excuse me, a holiday house party or ball. I thought um, Mistletoe Mistress by Madison Michaels, that some of us will have read for the book club, had that. Um, so I did it there. However, I think I have a couple of books I haven't read yet that probably have that in them, and that's the Mary Viscount. Somebody was talking about this on the Discord or in one of the live streams, and I just like asked the library to get it for me from a different library. It's from it's from Chester. Okay. Speaking of Chester, and I'm guessing that there's probably a holiday house party or ball in this one. Or this was one of my free step backs from the other day, which is going to be my step back for Step Back Saturday on Instagram. And that is Home for the Holidays by Joanna Lindsay, which I'm pretty sure is going to have something like that. And I'm going to read it anyway for Step Back Saturday. I'd look to see if they were dressed for a party, but they're not really dressed at all. So let's see if I can angle that better. Again, it's kind of messing me up that the monitor is here, but the camera is here. It's kind of anyway. So we'll see if there's one in either of these two books. And Megan says, I checked this off for the Mistletoe Mistress and the Wallflower Christmas. Yeah. I mean, I think that if you're going to read an historical that takes place during the holidays, it's probably going to be a party of some kind. For this one, Abby Jean says, for this one, I did When She's Merry by Ruby Dixon. The couple help a woman out of depression by celebrating Christmas. Super cute. And Violet says, oh, I read this one last month. It's really good. They do celebrate the holidays at his estate. Oh, she says, Violet says it's the Mary Viscount. Okay, cool beans. So, yeah, like I said, I knew somebody, maybe it might have been one of your videos. And I was like, if it was like in your November wrap up, that might have been what made me get it. I don't know. It's just, I got a note saying your hold is in, and it was the Mary Viscount. I'm like, oh yeah, the Mary Viscount. I wanted to read that for whatever. Okay, so there we go. And the 7th prompt on the naughty list is Grinch approved. A story with a character that starts off bitter but has a change of heart. Pause that refreshes. Now I'm going with, this was, I think, my Step Back Saturday last week. Believe by Victoria Alexander. And here's the step back. It's quite lovely, but the book itself doesn't have nearly the Christmas content that the cover suggests. There's a glancing reference to it being Christmas at one point, and that's about it. However, we do have some characters who are kind of bitter about one thing or another, and they kind of rediscover the magic of love. I enjoyed this book. It's time travel shenanigans. She's a modern day woman, and she ends up in the court of King Arthur at Camelot. Although it's kind of this Middle Ages pastiche, so her false advertising. It really is. It really is. Covers lie. Covers always lie. Yeah, no, I know what you meant. Yeah. Megan says, unless a character in my cozy mystery has a change of heart by the end of the book, which I doubt it, I can't check this off yet. Well, what if they had like the upright person who's trying to solve the murder and who disapproves of murder suddenly decides that maybe murder is a good solution to life's problems? Be like a reverse Grinch. They went from being, a perfectly moral, upright person to being like this murdering weirdo. I don't know. So I did enjoy the book. There were, like I said, there were magical realism, time travel shenanigans, and Merlin did the thing. And Yeah, I liked it, but it didn't have a lot of Christmas content. So, covers live. Not mad about it. So that was Grinch approved, and Violet says not holiday coded at all, but Lord of Scoundrels by Loretta Chase does have a bitter man growing and learning. Yeah, I mean the prompt itself doesn't say that it has to be in a holiday context. So yeah, Loretta Chase, Lord of Scoundrels. Abby Jean says I did What Could Have Been by Heather Gare for this. So good. It's not so much change of heart as it is a colossal misunderstanding. LOL. Well, that'll happen too. What is that? Lord of Scoundrels. And What Could Have Been. So awesome. Getting my Rex in. Okay. And then the naughty. Excuse me. Okay, that was the naughty. Okay, the 8th nice list is Bookish Buddies. Recommend or lend a book to a friend. So that one, I haven't read the book yet, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. I saw somebody praising it to the skies on Instagram, and I'm going to recommend it to I told my mom I had checked it out, and she said she'd probably be interested in reading it as well. And that is nonfiction. ADHD is Awesome by Penn and Kim Holderness. Let's see if I can get this so it's not quite so, again, a library copy, so it's got the plastic dust jacket. Penn and Kim Holderness, they're the Holderness family. They do these viral videos where they do song parodies and stuff like that. Abby Jean says, I mean, scratch that. She does have a change of heart. Beautiful story, though. Also has ADHD. So, yeah, that ties in with this. Anyway, they do these. And Megan says, I'm counting this as my cozy mysteries that I posted about on Insta the last few days. This is the because you posted it on Insta, so usually. Well, also we're getting various recommendations like right here as we speak, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, this is like I was saying, Penn and Kim Holderness family. They do these song parodies and stuff. I think they had about 11 years ago. They had Christmas Jammies. There's a big one. Penn Holderness has ADHD, and they wrote this book together. It's about his experience with ADHD and her experience as being married to somebody with ADHD. And they do a lot of interviews with various doctors and researchers to talk about what we know about ADHD, what research is being done, what some of the treatment protocols are. And he also has like examples of different strategies people have employed who are living with ADHD. And Kim talks about different strategies spouses have employed who are married to people with ADHD. Anyway, so somebody on Instagram was saying this was a really good book about ADHD, and I told my mom about it, and she's like, she probably is going to read it as well. So that's that. Ugh, my outbox is getting quite precarious. Stretch break. Ooh, yeah. That's the stuff. Riveting content. What everybody's here for. Okay, so that was the Bookish Buddies on the nice list. And on the naughty list, we have Bookish Binge. Finish an entire series in one weekend. I was going to do this last weekend, but then I ended up going to New York and I don't know, driving all over the place. And then I was really tired. And then I was struggling with streaming software. It didn't happen, but it will. Abby G says I won't be doing that. Not going to happen for her. So I have a couple of options here. One is more realistic than the other, I think. And that's this YA trilogy, Aurora Rising, Aurora Burning, and Aurora's End by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I know Jay Kristoff apparently is problematic, so I'm not sure if I will be able to put that aside while I'm reading the book. I did enjoy the Illuminae files by them, but we shall see. Anyway, I figured because it is YA, for me, these YA trilogies are such page turners that they tend to go pretty quickly. So I'm going to work on that this weekend. And I also have this one that I saw when I was skipping around the library, and that is Roni Lauren, and it's a series that starts with a book called The Ones Who Got Away, and apparently it's about some sort of horrific event, tragic event that happens at a senior graduation or dance or prom or something. Well, it doesn't specify what the event was, but it was something that made national news. And there are 4 books in this series. So hang on a second. Megan's saying, I haven't found a series lately that I've loved enough to binge. Well, I haven't even started these. So, I mean, I just find that when I do start a YA series, especially if it's like 3 books, I kind of tend to read it through before I even realize whether or not I'm liking it. It just goes so quickly. And this is an intriguing series, but it's also, hang on, I'm holding that at a nauseating angle. It's also 4 relatively thick books long. So I might tackle that during the weekend between Christmas and New Year's. Don't know how far I'll get with it, but can't win if you don't try. Nicole Carta. I made it. Sorry I'm late. Very excited to listen and grow my TBR list. Well, you've come to the right place. You definitely have, and you can always watch it back after the fact. I'm glad to have you here. So bring it, she says. We actually are all the way up to bookish binge, which is we're alternating the nice list with the naughty list. So we're on the 8th prompt on the naughty list, which is bookish binge. So I'm not sure that too many people are going to try this. I think December is kind of an awkward time of year for this. Although, like I said, there's that weekend between Christmas and New Year's, which is kind of a nice, quiet time, at least for me. Of course, the whole holiday is very quiet for me. Okay, and so number 9 is Santa's Favorite Helper, a book with a standout sidekick or supporting character. This was another library book that I had to return because somebody wanted it, and I certainly wanted to make sure that they got it. And that was Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borison. Since it was the first book of the sort of interconnected series, of course, she made the supporting characters kind of really interesting and people you want to learn more about because obviously she wants you to read the books she's going to continue to write in that world. So yeah, it worked on me. I have Business Casual out from the library right now, but I read the first one. I have out the last one. The 2 in the middle are a little more elusive, but I don't know that you really need to read them in order. I don't think so. So I don't know. Did anybody else have any sidekicks who stood out to them? For this one, Abby Jean says, I'm halfway through T. Kingfisher's The Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. The side character in question is a gingerbread man. I was going to reach out and grab a gingerbread man off the tree, but he's the gingerbread people. There's one in my sitting room, and then there's one in the big tree downstairs. So I almost knocked over the tree for no reason. There's a cupcake on here somewhere. Megan says, "Oh, I guess I could count that for the Mistletoe Mistress. Devlin stood out, but she'd read Devlin's book beforehand. Yeah, I was just like, dude, what are you even doing? Making bets? No, no, no." And then you find out, of course, that his heart was in the right place and that it was not as it seemed. And Megan says, Abby Jean, how cute. Yeah, that does sound pretty good. That's The Wizard's Guide. I've read other stuff by T. Kingfisher, but not that one. T. King. And Abby Jean says, oh no, excuse me. Violet says, Paladin's Hope is a fantasy romance that has an anthropomorphic rodent character named Earstripe, who I would die for. He's a little rat police officer, and I adore him. The one that just made me think of, who was definitely not law enforcement, was Reepicheep in Prince Caspian. was a little, I think he was a rat, but he was anthropomorphic. He had a little outfit and everything. T. Kingfisher, what was it called again? Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. Thank you. And Rat Paladin's Hope. Okay, and Abby Jean says, I've also been enjoying my gingerbread cookies candle with with it in sock fashion. Yes, because of the sock pairing, the candle and book pairing that I do on Instagram. And Violet says to Abby, T. Kingfisher truly writes the best side characters. And Abby Jean says, Violet, right. Paladin's Hope is one of my all-time favorite books, which is shocking because I don't normally reach for MM. That male? I do. I've written it in the form of /fan fiction. And Abby Jean agrees that Earstripe is the best. So yeah, have to look into that one. Okay. So that was Santa's Favorite Helper. And then we have over here, Holiday Sleuth. Read a book where a crime is committed. Well, I think Megan's got this one sewn up. I don't really, because I read Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey, where a crime is committed before the start of the book, but you know, that's about it. I haven't been reading. Oh, actually, I take that back. I was just reading today, Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle, where there are presumably going to be crimes. We shall find out. And Megan says, LOL check. I think that's in reference to that's that she actually has a crime committed. So she's got that one set. And Abby Jean says in reference to the T. Kingfisher book, yes, male. So Wizard's Guide is a middle grade. And if you read her Paladin series, you should start with book 1, Paladin's Hope. Very good. Kingfisher has range. She also writes horror. Yes, I've read some of her horror. It's really amazing. And Abby Jean says all of the other books in her Paladin series are MF. Okay. Yeah, I read House with Good Bones. And I can't remember what it's called, but it was the one where the woman goes back to her uncle's place in North Carolina, and it's like this kind of cabinet of curiosities, kind of roadside attraction type of museum. That was pretty good too. Hollow Places, I think it was called, maybe. Anyway, it was good. I liked it. And Megan says, currently reading Rest Ye Murdered Gentlemen. A reporter has been poisoned. Whoa, my goodness. Did he get better? Okay. So one more on the nice list. This is the one I've really been struggling with. Oh, Megan says it's by Vicki Delaney, and I think it's a year-round Christmas series. And she says, LOL, no, he died. He died. I have decided, and Abby Jean says, for the sleuth prompt I did, a Mackenzie clan gathering. Art is stolen. Did they find him? I had an Uncle Art, so, you know, I hear the word art, I think of my uncle. And, yeah, I lost my train of thought. That's been happening. Okay. So the prompt on the nice list is the 10th prompt, final prompt on the nice list. Warm hearts. Leave a kind note or bookmark in a public book. This is the one that I have just like struggled with this one. Because first off, I found this tucked into the, it was tucked into like 5th on a library book. Wasn't this book, but that's where it was. And that's this beautiful, oversized business card, which is for Country Flower Farms, best plants in the business. Oh wait, Abby Jean says you can finish what you're saying, then read comments. Yeah, I don't know. And Nicole Carter yells, "Love that! Yay!" I I don't know what that's in reaction to, but sure, you bet. Why not? Yeah, I mean, or I could just continue to wander around and just flail madly. It's all good. I'm not worried about it. Anyway, so this is for Country Flower Farms, which is something somebody left in a book. Uh, Best plants in the business. They are very nice. Oh, she loves the bookmark idea. Yeah, it's a nice one. So I found this in a bookmark. I mean, in a book. Then I bought a book from Book Barn, the same trip where I got the romance grab bag, and I found this notepad in in the book, and it's a pretty. It's got like these little flowers and stuff on the bottom. Now on the back, somebody had written belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, shoes gospel of peace, shield of faith, helmet of salvation, and sword spirit of God's word. So I think we're looking at some kind of like military metaphor for religion. And sure enough, this notepad is labeled priests of the Sacred Heart. So anyway, so we have all of this, and then on the other side it says aspirin water laundry detergent. So I think that this is a story waiting to happen. And Nicole Carter says, "What a sweet sentiment! The book gods are blessing you." Yes, they are. And Abby Jean just thinks this is hilarious. The thing is that what made this a real epic fail on my part is that I did put a bookmark into a book that I returned to the library. And on my way out the door, the person who was working the circulation desk comes up to me and she goes, "You left this bookmark in your book." And I was just like, okay, fine, be that way. However, I got some candles from an Etsy shop over the weekend, and they put in a couple of really nice bookmarks. We've got this one. It's the same on both sides, so I don't know why I'm flipping it around. And then this one that says Autumn Leaves and Cozy Reads. So what I think I'm going to do is like go into the library and put them in a book that's already on the shelf so that like the circulation person doesn't come chasing after me. Megan says, "LOL, poor librarian trying to be helpful." She was. It was very sweet of her. And I'm like, but I was actually trying to give them away. Megan says, "These are lovely." They are. They're really nice. Abby Jean says, "Someone gave me a bookmark for Christmas. Maybe I should count that as a reverse prompt because I don't usually get physical books from the library." Yeah. Well, anyway, I think I'm going to sneak in and maybe tuck these into some books. Just find some books that have autumn in the title or something like that, and just put them in there, and then hopefully somebody will find them at some point and enjoy them. For bookmarks, I usually use paint cards from like Benjamin Moore. They're nice and long. They just color coordinate them to the book I'm reading because I'm extra like that. Whew. So that is my Abby G says, "Oh, I love that." Yeah, I think that's one way I can make sure that they get into the hands of an avid reader. And then moving on to the last prompt on the naughty list. Oh, Megan says, "I love bookmarks, and yet I usually use a ribbon." Well, a ribbon is that's a pretty classic thing to do, and they have such a nice texture. You can have satin or grosgrain or whatever. Nice. So the last prompt on the naughty list is abandon bookmark. Start a new book without finishing the last one. I've done that so many times. My notes say too many times to count. Yeah, I don't even know which books I've done that with. I just know that I've done it a fair amount. So, especially since a lot of times if I get up early in the morning, I'll go downstairs and I'll read downstairs. whereas at night I'll be reading upstairs. And so I have my downstairs book and my upstairs book. My downstairs book is usually nonfiction. My upstairs book is usually fiction. I tend to go through the fiction a lot faster than the nonfiction, though. Let's see, what do we got here? Megan says, I definitely did that. And Abby Jean says, this is me. I usually have 3+ books going at a time. Nicole says, oh, bless that prompt. I just may do that tonight. A book fell flat recently for me. Oh, sorry to hear that. Abby Jean says, I had 7 not too long ago. LOL. Um, yeah, so I think I've done a fair number of these. I didn't really count them up. I've done a fair number, or I have plans to do some. So yeah. And Violet says, yeah, that is endless for me. Scatterbrain mood reading is my life. Yes, yes. Can relate, can relate. Abby Jean says, it was a bit much. Well, that was her 7. Oh, yeah, because Megan said, whoa, 7 is a lot. And Abby Jean is like, yeah, it was a bit much. So that was the list. Oh gosh. Does anybody excuse me. Megan says 3 is my max, 1 in each format and usually different genres. Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, maybe you're not in the mood for a romance, or maybe you're not in the mood for a cozy mystery or something like that. And yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're a mood reader, but your mood's going to be the same, trying to articulate the idea that if you're a mood reader, your mood is, at least for me, in my experience, my mood is probably going to change um, before I'm done with the book. So I'm going to need to do something else for a little while. And that's okay. Nicole says, I normally have an historical romance, then some other fictional genres so I don't confuse the stories, and a middle grade book I read to give Rex to my students. Oh, yeah, yeah. Like, yes, my middle grade students. I have this Joanna Lindsay book I've been reading. Oh, wait a minute. I probably shouldn't tell you that. Ooh, I'm going to have to talk to the school board, aren't I? That's not great. And Megan says, what are some other genres you all like to read other than romance? And Nicole says, ha. And Megan says, oh, Nicole, I love middle grade stories. Oh, I have one right here. I parked it under the tree because it's just pretty and it looks seasonal. I saw this at a library book sale and I just kind of grabbed it, didn't know anything about it. It's called Winter House by Ben Gutterson. I don't know if it's any good or not. I'm going to be finding out. Now, so Megan wants to know, what other genres do people read? Well, I read contemporary romance, and Nicole says, yes, Winter House is incredible. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I have it, it's parked under the tree, and I have a bunch of stuffed animals and dolls under the tree, and there's a Raggedy Ann who's reading it. So I guess, but she's not talking. She won't say whether or not she likes it because she's a doll and she doesn't talk. Anyway, um, so Megan was asking, what other genres do we read? I read science fiction. I kind of tend more to read science fiction over fantasy. I read romantasy, but when it comes to just that kind of speculative fiction adventure, I prefer science fiction to fantasy. I read general fiction, read nonfiction, um, thrillers, a lot of thrillers. Yeah, I mean, just put it in front of me. Contemporaries, read a lot of contemporaries. Categories, really like reading the old school Harlequins and Candlelight Ecstasy romances from the 80s. Let's see what other people have to say. Violet says, I vibe with some occasional space operas and science fiction books. Also web comics, which I need to get back to. Yeah. Abby says, I mostly read romance. I just got my degree in English Lit in December. Oh, congratulations. And so I've read a lot of classics and I like to pick one up every now and again. I take it you mean last December? Anyway, congratulations. And Nicole says, I live in historical romance and romantasy, but every now and then I ache for a good mafia romance. Yeah, you know what? I didn't think I was into mafia romance, but people started publishing them or posting them in fan fiction. And I was like, you know, if Dean Winchester falls in love with a mafia boss, would I fall in love with a mafia boss? The answer is probably yes. Ah, Dean Winchester. Or at least I'll read about Dean Winchester doing it. And that made me think, well, maybe I'd read about like original characters doing it too. Not looking back. Uh, Abby Jean says, yes, last December. Guess it's been a year now. Thanks. Abby Jean's laughing about something. Yeah, well, congratulations. That's very exciting. Yeah. Megan says, oh, interesting. I haven't read much science fiction except Red Rising, but I prefer fantasy, historical romance, and cozy mysteries. I'm close to trying romantasy soon. I did enjoy the Plated Prisoner series, but not everybody did. So, take that with a grain of salt. And Megan is adding her congratulations to Abby Jean. So, uh, hmm. Horror. I also tend to read a fair amount of horror. That's horror, HORROR, not word for sex workers, though I read about them too. Uh, Abby Jean says, I will also read a sci fi or lit RPG with my husband every now and again. And thanks, Megan. Do you and your husband buddy read that much? Or is that like every once in a while? I know I remember you said you got him to read a romance novel, but I can't remember which one it was. You said he still quotes it to this day. So, yeah. So, how do people feel in general about doing these kinds of challenges? Oh, Nicole says, I'd love to know what romance novel that was. Yeah, I can't remember. So, Abby Jane, if you could clue us in, she says, The Many Sins of Lord Cameron. We usually listen to audiobooks together. The Many Sins of Lord Cameron. Was that a Cameron Sisters book or Cameron family book by Kathy Maxwell? Adding that now. Me too. The Many Sins of Lord. The Many. That's another Mackenzie. Okay. Oh, I see. Abby Jean, for some reason, her comment came before Megan's because Megan said, is the Mackenzie? That sounds familiar. And she says, that's another Mackenzie. So that's the Many Sins of. Ah, my pen is giving out like the hot water heater did. I hope Deborah's doing okay with no heat. Okay. So yeah, I was asking how people feel about doing challenges and bingos and that kind of thing. I don't normally do that, but I saw it this time and I thought, you know what? This would be a good time to try, and I'm glad I did. Or am in the process of. I mean, it's not like there's some kind of high stakes for getting it done or not getting it done. And it occurs to me that it would make a nice topic for a live stream, which I certainly think it did. I certainly got a lot of recommendations. So I'm, you know, and Megan says, I love the idea, but I'm terrible at completing. Nicole says, I adore challenges and bingos. It makes reading more of a community. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for almost an hour and a half now. And it's pretty cool. Abby Jean thinks they're fun. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I don't normally do that, but I'm glad I did. Or am in the process of. And Violet says, I normally have the best of intentions and manage to accomplish half pretty much every time, you know. And Abby Jean says, I want to learn how to make the wrap up graphics to share my reading. Megan agrees with Violet. She says, oh, LOL, same. Well, I've been learning some new skills when it comes to working with technology. for doing the YouTube, and I think, you know, that's what I'm comfortable with. I have been, checking off my, just using the checklist, and I've been using it, just been using Microsoft Editor to just put a little X in the boxes as I complete the challenges. So I don't know if people are interested in, more live streams. I certainly enjoy doing them, and I was thinking maybe I could do them even, like, every Monday at 7. We could just get together and chit chat about whatever for people who can, and, Megan says, "Yes, making graphics is actually a lot of work." And Abby Jean says, "It seems like it." No word of a lie. Megan says, "I work with Canva for work and a lot goes into them." Yeah. Yeah, it's intimidating. It really is. Yeah, anyway, I was just wondering if people would be interested in more live streams, like maybe Mondays at 7. I was also thinking of doing something earlier in the day from my perspective, either on a week or a weekend, because I've had a couple of people tell me that they'd like to participate in live streams, but they live in like Europe or they have a different schedule for whatever reason. So I thought that uh, maybe I'd do something at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon from my perspective, which if you lived in Central Europe would be like Germany or something, that would be like 7 o'clock in the evening. Uh, Nicole says Monday is great. And Abby Jean says, "Yeah, more live shows would be fun." I really enjoy doing them, and I do want to do some more planned content. But again, I'd have to learn to edit. Although last week Abby Jean was like, "No, you don't," and I'm like, "Well, maybe." Uh, Nicole says, "I work from home, can make anything work, really." Yeah. So yeah, I thought maybe I'd do some, like, from my perspective, middle of the day, sprints or something like that during the week, and maybe Monday evenings have something that we could actually a topic we could actually talk about. Uh, Megan says, "Yes, I work from home too, so I can try to make it to anything." Well, I mean, if you're working from home, obviously you can't just drop whatever you're doing to do a live stream. You're supposed to be getting some work done, I guess. I don't know, because I don't know, I'm having a good time with it, and I do have another bag. This is not a grab bag though. These are the free books that I got at the Danbury Friends of the Danbury Public Library bookstore. And I got 18 free mass market paperbacks and 16 of them are step backs. So maybe I could do a haul or something like that. Or we could find something else to talk about. Maybe first week in January. This is looking ahead, but maybe I was thinking the first week in January we could do a wrap up for this challenge and discuss whatever's been released for the January challenge, and also talk about the tackle your TBR. Oh, and thank you again, Violet, for doing those beautiful shots of all of the books with orange covers, orange backgrounds, orange dresses. Is salmon really orange or not? Orange skies, and the book is by Beverly Jenkins. It was really cool. It was really cool. Those look really, really good, and I appreciated the effort you put into it. Okay, let's see. Okay, okay. I'm caught up on comments, I think. Oh, fun, more books, yes. And they didn't cost me a thin dime. Oh, Violet says thanks. Yeah, well, I appreciated it. We can always use a little more beauty in our lives. Nicole says, I adored the little time I got to spend with y'all. Looking forward to more to come. Yeah, I like to think it's a good time. And Megan says, yes, at Violet Cat, loved the pictures. It also helped me realize how one can interpret a color on the cover. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's it. Last week was an hour and 45 minutes. This week is an hour and a half. So, I don't want to cut it too short, but I don't want it to go too long because, and okay, so does anybody else have anything they want to add? And if anybody ever wants to make any suggestions for live stream ideas, I mean, I have plenty of my own, but if somebody has something that they think would be fun to do or they want to see me do, just DM me in Discord. Megan's saying, yes, she has to get going. Yeah. Yeah. So, but thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate it. Oh, but lovely hanging out with you all. Lovely to hang out with you as well. And yeah, thank you to everyone who made the scene tonight. Appreciate it. There's a lot of things you could be doing with your spare time, and the fact that you wanted to spend some of it with me is very gratifying. And certainly, I got a lot out of it too. So, or at least I hope you got a lot out of it. It's presumptuous of me, but I certainly got a lot out of it, and a lot of recommendations and good times and funs and laughs and etc. So I look forward to more. And I'd say watch out for a non-live stream video coming from me soon, but don't hold your breath. And Violet says, thanks for the live stream. Have a great night. Yes, you too as well. Anybody else want to say anything before I end the stream? Okay, 1 hour. Oh, I loved every minute, says Nicole. Well, you can watch it back and re-experience it or experience it for the first time. And okay, so that was a tight 1 hour and 31 minutes. Good night, everyone.